Frontier Town, the saga of the Roaring West. Frontier Town. El Paso, Cheyenne, Calgary, Tombstone. Frontier Town. Here is the adventurous story of the early West, the tamed and the untamed. From the Pecos to Powder River, Dodge City to Poker Flat. These are the towns they fought to live in and lived to fight for. Teeming crucibles of pioneer freedom. Frontier Town!
Howdy. Chad Remington's the name. Chad Remington from Dos Rios in the Rocky Mountain country, where I'm sort of, well, I guess you'd call me a frontier town lawyer. Strange things happen out on the frontier, and as a result, strange things happen to me. Mighty strange things. But the frontier being what it is, always changing and always moving, and with the people who drift into it and across it, we've got just about as much law as the law allows. To show you what I mean, let's take what seemed to be a pretty cut-and-dried case that was brought to me just a matter of a few weeks ago. And I guess the best way to tell you about it is to tell you what happened, or what I suppose happened before they sent for me. Now, it all took place in the town of Rock Springs, about 50 miles from Dos Rios, and concerned a cattle rancher by the name of Oliver Baldwin and his daughter Dixie.
By criminy, Dixie, you're just wasting your breath arguing with me. I know what I'm doing. And I'm a-telling you that I'm going down to Delahanty's store and tell him off proper.
But, Daddy, maybe you did make a mistake when you wrote that deed out for him. Maybe you just thought you wrote it out for 300 acres. You might have put an extra zero on it without realizing it.
The only mistake I made was in dealing with that unprincipled, no-good varmint in the first place. I know what I wrote in that deed, and it was just 300 acres and not 3,000.
Well, if you're positive he changed the 300 to 3,000, you still shouldn't take the law into your own hands.
Who said anything about taking the law into my own hands? I'm just going down to Delahanty's store and give him 24 hours to change that deed back to 300 acres or suffer the consequences. And while I'm in town, I'm sending a telegram over to Dos Rios to that lawyer over there, Chad Remington.
Well, that's a relief.
Because if Delahanty's going to try any crooked stuff on me, I'm a-getting a lawyer and throwing him and his whole kit and caboodle right smack into jail.
Well, Oliver Baldwin was as good as his word. He hitched a team to his buckboard and drove from the 2-Bar S into Rock Springs to call on Cy Delahanty at the little store Delahanty had recently opened in the town. And while he was on the trail to Rock Springs, Oliver Baldwin was the subject of a conversation Delahanty was having with his assistant, Prod Stevens.
Look, Mr. Delahanty, I know I work for you, but you ain't been in Rock Springs long enough to know about these things. And I'm telling you, Oliver Baldwin is a regular catamount when he gets riled.
You don't say so, Prod. The old gentleman looks so gentle. You'd think butter wouldn't melt in his mouth.
Talk about the devil. Here comes Baldwin now.
Let me handle him. Morning, Oliver.
Don't you go Oliver and me, Delahanty.
No, don't tell me just because you made a perfectly understandable mistake in filling out my deed that you're going to hold it against me.
Delahanty, I know you ain't been out west long enough to understand us, folks, but them smooth city ways of yours don't go out here. We got our own way of handling crooks.
Prod, I think you better show the gentleman to the door. And don't be too polite about it.
Yeah, all right. What? Come on, Mr.
You
Baldwin.
lay a hand on me and I'll
You
show...
numbskull, let that gun alone. Let go of that gun or I'll...
Mr. Baldwin, you pulled a gun, acted like a complete nitwit, and ruined a $200 mirror. Now get out before I lose my temper completely.
If that gunslinger of yours didn't have my 45, I'd show you. But I'm a-getting a lawyer down here, Delahanty, and when he comes, you'll be lucky if you just end up in jail.
So, he's sending for help, is he? Well, the only kind of help he's going to need is the help of 6 pallbearers. Prod,
Yeah, boss?
get that rifle out of the back room. You and I are riding out on the trail, making sure that Mr. Baldwin never gets back home.
Well, Oliver Baldwin stopped long enough in Rock Springs before heading home to send me a telegram. So, enlisting the company and assistance of Cherokee O'Bannon, the ex-medicine man who now owns the Dos Rios livery stable, we lost no time in setting out for Rock Springs and plowing up the dust to the 2 Bar S ranch house.
This is quite an establishment Mr. Baldwin has over here, Chad.
Yep, and from all appearances, Oliver Baldwin seems to be one of the few really prosperous ranchers.
You suppose he might be able to pay you a sizable fee, Counselor?
What do you call a sizable fee? $10 for me and 10 quarts of whiskey for you?
No, sizable fee should be $20.
Dollars?
Oh, quarts.
Yes.
Oh, I'm Chad Remington, and this is Mr. O'Bannon. Is Mr. Baldwin home?
Come in, won't you? I'm Dixie Baldwin. My father was dry gulched last night.
He was...
Dry gulch. Who was the unprincipled culprit who dared to...
Hold it, Cherokee. This is no time to ask questions. If Miss Dixie feels like talking, she'll tell us all that's necessary to know.
Oh, what is it to tell you? I knew before my father left for town that he'd never come back.
Why do you say that?
Because he went in to see Cy Delahanty with blood in his eye.
Cy Delahanty. Who's he?
Double-crossing, sheep-stealing Jasper who just opened a store in town. Oh, I know I can't prove it, but I'm positive that Delahanty did it.
Why do you say that, miss? Had he threatened your father?
I don't know. But Daddy threatened him plenty. You see, Delahanty moved to Rock Springs from Springfield a few months ago. He opened a store and then started looking around for some ranch land he could buy.
Well, that explains part of your father's telegram about a forged deed.
He sold Delahanty 300 acres. When the deed was filed, it read 3,000.
I see. But you said your father was dry gulched. And if he went into Delahanty's store to threaten him,
Of course. You didn't think Delahanty would do what he did in his own store, do you? Why, with that kind, they just wait.
Shall I open the door for you, Miss Dixie?
Well, yes, if you... Well, I recognize his rig outside. That must be Delahanty at the door now.
Oh, wait a minute, Miss Dixie. I think Cherokee and I had better go into the kitchen while he's here.
You mean you don't want to meet Delahanty?
No, I don't. Not just yet.
Well, you're going to be a fine lot of help, you are.
Now, wait a minute. I only want to... You'd better let him in. I'll explain my reasons to you later. All right, come on, Cherokee.
Good afternoon, Miss Baldwin. May I come in?
Yes, as long as you're here.
I heard about your father.
Not really.
A week ago, I'd have felt sorry for your father and for you. But since he made his attitude very apparent yesterday, I'll just make this a business call. Save myself the trouble of coming to see you again.
And save me the trouble of seeing you again.
Your father told you he sold me only 300 acres, didn't he?
That's all he did sell you.
Fortunately, that part is past argument. When he came in to see me yesterday, he asked me to promise that I wouldn't tell you about this. Here.
A bill of sale for 100 head of cattle.
A bill of sale for 100 head of cattle. you didn't think I was going to buy 3,000 acres of land and raise jackrabbits on it, did you? I bought a ranch from your father. A ranch with cattle on it.
You... Mr. Delahanty, I want to tell you something I'm sure you already know. This is nothing but forgery. You copied my father's signature from the original deed.
How very, very clever of me. Of course, you can prove that statement.
I'm giving you 3 to get out of here.
No sense in reaching for that rifle, young lady. Now that I've told you the facts, I'm going. But I'll be back Monday to take over my 3,000 acres and the cattle along with it. Good day, Miss Baldwin. And don't expect me at your father's funeral.
Mr. Remington!
Ah, there's a fine, high-class gentleman. Miss Dixie, do you believe your father did sell him the cattle?
For $1,100?
I'm forced to agree with the young lady, Chad.
So am I, Cherokee. But that doesn't mean a judge and 12 men on a jury would. No, the first thing for us to do, if Miss Dixie feels up to it, is to ride into town and call on the sheriff.
Sheriff, you can't really mean that.
Allow that I do, Miss Dixie. Guessing's one thing, proving's another.
And how are you going to prove a thing like forgery when even you admit you couldn't tell if it's your father's signature or not?
Well, if either of you think I'm going to be robbed of my ranch and my stock, you've certainly got another thing coming.
Miss Dixie, the law is the law.
Isn't that consoling? But if that is the law, then maybe I'd better make a few laws of my own.
Now, Dixie, you're not going to get any place acting this way.
And as far as you're concerned, Mr. Remington, remember, I didn't ask you to come down here. And if my father had known as much about you as I do now, I don't think he would have either.
We'll return to the second act of Branding the Badlands, our exciting frontier town adventure, in just a few moments. And now, Frontier Town.
Well, as I said before, a cut-and-dried case doesn't always turn out to be just that. And not only was it a back-breaking job trying to prove anything on Cy Delahanty, but Dixie Baldwin's sudden attitude of bitterness was making my task no easier. After Dixie's display of temper at the sheriff's office, the O'Bannon and I, somewhat grimly, I admit, remounted our horses and rode back to the 2-Bar S Ranch. When we got there, we found that Dixie, having seen us coming, had gone into her bedroom and bolted the door, leaving us with a bit of egg on our faces. Not much to do and a good deal to talk about.
Chad, you know I'm not a man who likes propriety. But I want to go on record as saying Miss Baldwin is perhaps the most pig-headed filly I've ever seen. And one of the most pulchritudinous, I might add. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, a fine lot of good her pulchritude is doing us while she's locked up in her room.
And it has certain advantages at that, Chad. For example, since she is not out here to play hostess, I could look through the kitchen cupboards to see if I could locate any refreshments.
Not on your tin type. This is one time you need a clear head.
Counselor, my head is clear as a bell.
Yes, and probably twice as empty.
Of course. It's absolutely twice. What was that again?
Look, O'Bannon, there's only one thing for us to do. We've got to induce Miss Dixie to come out and listen to reason. And there are no two ways about that.
If I know women, and I do, she's not coming out.
Dixie? Dixie, can you hear me? I want to talk to you.
You're just wasting your breath, my boy.
Doggone it, Dixie. Will you stop acting like a spoiled child and come out here?
Certainly not coming out. And if you're even half a gentleman, you'll pack up and clear out of here.
Now, your father telegraphed me to come out here and, well, he needed some help. And if you...
Fine lot of help, you are. Unless you mean you want to help Delahanty.
Why, you ungrateful little vixen. Now, you either open that door or someone's going to have to buy you a new one.
You try breaking this door down, and you're going to get a load of buckshot.
All right. Now, Cherokee, that excess beef of yours is good for something. Come on, help me bust this door down.
I'll be too glad to oblige, Counselor.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Two big, strong men, eh? Well, do you think you're big enough to swallow lead?
Now, you wouldn't dare pull that trigger. Your bluff is just like your temper, all on the surface. And for your information, I'm not leaving Rock Springs yet.
And for your information, I don't care what you do as long as you get out of my house.
Fair enough. That's a bargain. All right, come on, Cherokee. We got a bit of riding to do and fast. We did have a bit of riding to do. We rode back to town and made tracks for Delahanty's general store, where we called on Mr. Delahanty himself in mighty short order.
Yeah, I've heard about you, Remington.
I've heard about you, too, Delahanty.
Well, if I were you, I wouldn't believe all I hear.
Sorry, but what I heard about you, I've got to believe.
A really smart man wouldn't.
You talk as if I came here to make trouble for you. I didn't, so I'm putting all my cards on the table. Oliver Baldwin sent for me. When I got here, he was dead. And in my humble opinion, that daughter of Baldwin's is a double-dyed, self-willed little fool.
Oh? Is she?
Now, after talking to the sheriff, I'm sure of it. Now, look. Baldwin was supposed to pay me $500 for coming here, and it looks as if I'm not going to get it. So I thought maybe I could get part of it by making a deal with you.
A deal, huh? Well, keep talking.
Well, the sheriff says there's no question in his mind that you bought and paid for 100 head of 2 Barres cattle. And since you're a merchant and not a cattleman, I'd like to make a deal to round up and brand that cattle for you.
Wish I could believe you, Remington.
Why shouldn't you believe me? I own a ranch of my own, and I'm telling you that rounding up and branding takes an expert.
Mm-hmm.
Besides, if O'Bannon and I could do the job for you and collect $100, well, we'll at least have made expenses and not leave Rock Springs total losers.
Good grief, man. What have you got to lose? Besides, you can ride along with us and make sure you're getting what you paid for.
That's right at that. All right, boys, you can start the roundup and branding tomorrow morning. And, Prod and I will be right on hand to watch you.
Dixie, won't you even give me a chance to explain?
Don't you think you've explained enough? You're going to do exactly what my father wanted you down here for. To help Delahanty take possession of 3,000 acres and 100 head of cattle he never paid for.
But, my dear lady, Chad's got a good reason for doing it. And if he'd only stop to think at the time of the year it is, you'd get some ideas why
If you'd only stop trying to alibi yourselves, maybe we'd all be a lot happier. Let me tell you both this much. I'm going to pay you back someday and show the world what a pair of double-dealing, low-down, backbiting snakes you two really are. Since that's all I have to say to you, you can get out of here now and not show your faces again till it's time for your roundup.
All right, Cherokee. Dab a loop on that yearling and haul it over here to the fire. We're all ready to brand.
Right you are, Chad.
Are you sure this brand design will be all right for you, Mr. Delahanty?
Sure, if you say so. It's easy to put on those steers.
Oh, it's very little trouble. And the design, a triangle cross, is unusual. You won't find it twice within 1,000 miles of here.
Chad, this adolescent bovine is not taking too kindly to the idea of branding. Now, who's going to hold and who's going to brand?
I'd better ear the calf down, Cherokee. You look almost worn out already.
The only reason I look worn out is I am worn out.
Did you ever see a branding before, Mr. Delahanty?
No, this is my first.
Chad, for mercy's sake, will you stop conversing and toss that calf? The iron is red hot.
Okay, Cherokee. And don't forget the instructions I gave you.
Yes, sir. Once over lightly.
Okay. All right, here we go. All right, Cherokee. Slap on that branding iron. Because once we get this one done, we still got 99 more head that are going to wear the triangle cross. Now, believe me, it was mighty tough work branding 100 steers. But well worth the money Delahanty was supposed to pay us. It was late and dark by the time we'd finished, so we arranged to have Delahanty come back the next morning to cut out his cattle and drive them over to his own acres. But just before Delahanty was due, Cherokee and I paid another call on Dixie Baldwin.
Are you crazy? Why should I go out to the corral while you gloat over delivering 100 head of stolen cattle to Delahanty?
Now, look, young lady, you're coming out to witness the delivery whether you want to or not. So make up your mind to that.
Who do you think you're talking to that way?
I know who I'm talking to. Miss Dixie Baldwin. And she's going out to make sure that Delahanty gets only the cattle wearing his own brand.
You can talk all you want to. I'm not going out to the corral.
Now, the heck you're not, young lady. Cherokee, grab her shoulders.
Delighted, my boy.
Now, we're carrying Miss Baldwin to the corral ourselves.
Here goes.
Put me down. No, you stop that. You put me down. No, you leave me alone.
Well, Mr. Delahanty, it's up to you to pick out the cattle wearing your Triangle Cross brand and drive them out of here.
Huh? Triangle Cross brand?
That's your brand, you know.
Why not one of these cattle are wearing a Triangle Cross?
But they're the same cattle you saw Chad and I brand for you yesterday.
What are you talking about?
Not your cattle. These have got to be your cattle. You left that so-called assistant of yours here to watch them overnight, didn't you?
We're not magicians, Mr. Delahanty.
I don't know what's going on. But there must be some mistake.
Mistake? Oh, there can't possibly be. And what's more, you yourself gave Miss Baldwin a receipt for the 100 head of cattle right after the branding.
Yeah, but these aren't my cattle.
Well, I must admit the 100 head penned up in here are wearing the 2-Bar S brand. Maybe you moved your cattle during the night while we weren't around.
You think I'm crazy or something?
I'm sure I don't know. But since you admit these aren't your cattle here, well, you might just as well be on your way.
Why, you... Remington, I don't know how you did it, but you tricked me.
I did?
And let me tell you this much. You're not going to get away with it.
But maybe I have gotten away with it, Delahanty. It seems to me that you've already signed a receipt for the delivery of your so-called cattle.
Yeah? I'm taking the cattle in this corral anyhow. Pry!
Yeah, boss?
Start driving that 100 head out of here.
My good man, do you intimate that you're going to rustle Miss Baldwin's cattle?
I mean that you're both a couple of thieves. And I'm taking what's rightly mine.
Delahanty, you just made a couple of mistakes. The first mistake was calling me a thief. And the second was...
Chad, look out! Go get him, Counselor!
Try to steal cattle, will you?
Remington, you're nothing but a filthy crook
And that's one sentence you're not going to finish. When you wake up, we've got another sentence you can finish, which will run about 15 years.
All right, Sheriff, you can come out of those bushes now.
All right, come on, Sheriff. You saw Delahanty try to take 100 head of cattle that weren't wearing his brand. And I know that you know exactly what to do with cattle rustlers.
Chad, I'm not even going to apologize to you for all I said and did.
You sure don't have to, Dixie.
But will you please explain to me how you got away with that hocus pocus when I saw you brand the cattle with Delahanty's brand myself?
Miss, all we did was cold brand that stock.
Huh? Cold brand? Now, just what is a cold brand?
Well, Dixie, I tried to explain it to you yesterday, but you just wouldn't listen. However, a coal brand is a brand which only burns the hair off, doesn't touch the hide. And Delahanty, being an Easterner, didn't know that this time of the year, with the cattle shedding their hair, the burned hair fell out overnight, leaving only the 2-bar S to show through.
And the look on his face when he saw that 2-bar S.
Well, that 2-bar is a wonderful brand. Just imagine, 2 bars in place of 1.
What do you mean, Cherokee?
Well, Cherokee's kind of hinting that now that the job's all over and Delahanty's on his way to jail, he'd like a little liquid refreshment.
Oh, well, come on. I've got a bottle of something in the kitchen.
Oh, no, not that.
Oh, what's the matter, Cherokee? You turning down a drink?
Well, last night I got into the kitchen and brought the bottle out. Started to pour a drink in the parlor, but I very quickly gave it up. Too strong for me.
Too strong. You'll have to explain that one to me.
Well, when I poured some in the glass, a few drops of it fell on the maple table in the parlor.
Yes?
And that liquor was so strong, you know what? The bird's eye maple all turned bloodshot.
Frontier Town, starring Reed Hadley and featuring Wade Crosby, is a Bruce Ells production. Story and direction by Paul Franklin. Music written and played by Ivan Ditmars. Be sure to be with us again same time next week for another fine action-adventure story with your favorite young Western star, Reed Hadley. And now this is Bill Foreman to tell you that Frontier Town comes to you from Hollywood. Frontier Town, the saga of the Roaring West. Frontier Town. El Paso, Cheyenne, Calgary, Tombstone. Frontier Town. Here is the adventurous story of the early West, the tamed and the untamed. From the Pecos to Powder River, Dodge City to Poker Flat, these are the towns they fought to live in and lived to fight for. Teeming crucibles of pioneer freedom. Frontier Town!
Howdy. I'm Chad Remington, and if you've ever heard of me, which you probably haven't, you've heard me referred to as a Cowtown lawyer. Well, I guess you might say I do practice law in Dos Rios, But even on the boisterous and brawling frontier, there's not enough law business to keep a man going. A part of my time, a good part, is spent raising cattle. And what trouble I don't get into for my law business, I certainly ear down with my cattle. Because it's still so fresh in my mind, let me tell you what happened this shipping season. I guess it all started the day I was out checking my stock and keeping my eye out for downed fences with my sidekick, the ex-medicine man, Cherokee O'Bannon.
Chad, my boy, I don't mind saying that these steers of yours look like you've been feeding them nothing but my genuine Cherokee Indian rattlesnake oil.
Now, wait a minute, Cherokee. They can't look that bad. Besides, my cows don't touch alcohol.
Don't touch alcohol? Then that must account for the expression dumb as an ox. By the way, you don't happen to have a wee drap on you, do you?
I certainly don't, and even if I did, Cherokee, isn't that someone over there riding through the junipers where we just cut out those heifers?
Juniper? Must be a man after my own heart. They flavored gin with juniper berries.
It is someone, Cherokee. Come on. We're going over and find out just who he is and what he's doing trespassing on my land.
By George, you were right, Chad. There is someone there looking over your cattle.
Hey, you! Suppose you just hold it. All right, easy there, boy. Slow now.
Billy Blue Blazes, Chad. See who it is? It's that packing house fellow who recently came to town. Deuce Zeideman.
Howdy, Remington. Who'd you think it was? A rustler?
If I had thought so, Zeideman, you wouldn't have lived long enough to ask that question.
And believe you me, the counselor's not fooling. Just what are you doing out there anyhow?
I was riding by, saw your cattle, and figuring you'd probably be selling them me pretty soon, thought I'd save myself a trip by checking them over now.
You represent that new packing house combine, don't you, Zeideman?
Yes, sir. I sure do. United Beef Syndicate. And I'm willing to pay you a mighty good price.
And how much would a mighty good price be?
Oh, let's say 7 cents.
7 cents?
What do you think these are? Range-fed longhorns? Now, these are Herefords, mister, and practically fed by hand.
I might up that a penny a pound.
Fat chance. Chad's always gotten 10 cents and up from Ed McComb.
Yeah, but Ed McComb's dead. You don't think his wife can stay in business at those prices, do you?
Mister, not only is Lizzie McCombs capable of running that packing house, but she's staying in business if I have anything to do with it.
Suit yourself, Remington. But don't come to me when you find out she's not able to pay those fancy prices you want. Because I'll have bought all the beef I need to last me a full season. Now, if I were you, I'd think it over. And fast. Real fast.
There was no question in my mind that Deuce Zeideman had given me a warning. I didn't like it. And most of all, I didn't like Deuce Zeideman. So Cherokee and I wasted no time getting into Dos Rios and paying a call on Lizzie McCombs to find out if Zeideman had been threatening her.
Why, that knot-headed lummox threatened me. He wouldn't dare, Chad. He wouldn't dare.
Well, I thought I'd ask, Lizzie. After all, now that Ed's dead, well, with that kind, you never know.
Well, Deuce Zeideman and the United Beef Syndicate ain't scaring me out of business, with her or not.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, Lizzie. Because I thought the way Ed had been found shot so mysteriously, it just might have been Zeideman and his crowd.
You shouldn't say things like that, Cherokee. At the coroner's inquest, Deuce Zeideman had an airtight alibi.
Even if he didn't have an alibi, the McCombs Packing Company is still in business, and is going to stay in business. If Deuce Zeideman has got any different ideas, he's going to have a fight on his hands that the whole county won't forget.
Well, Deuce, I guess you were right.
What'd you find out, Pinto?
Plenty. Lizzie McCombs has bought more than a trainload of cattle, and she's getting ready to ship. Most of the cattle are down at the railroad yards now in the loading pens.
Got 'em all nicely rounded up for us, huh?
What do you mean?
I just had a hunch something like this was going to happen. So I had a little, heart-to-heart talk with one of her men. You know him, Pinto. That big red-faced fella. The one they call Braid?
Braid? Sure. Well, what's he gonna do for us?
You get your boys rounded up and back over here for instructions. Once they do their job, Mr. Braid is taking care of the rest.
You getting the cattle loaded all right, Braid?
Doing all right, Mrs. McCombs. Won't be long before some lucky city folks will be licking their chops over some more prime McCombs beef.
Yeah. If nothing goes wrong.
Yeah? What could go wrong now?
Well, that new beef syndicate that Deuce Zeideman's got, I ain't too sure.
Well, you know what they say. Competition's good for business.
Yeah, maybe honest competition's good for business, Braid, but when you're dealing with a weasel face slick talking.
Suffering Joe, man. What's that?
Why, them filthy sidewalkers shooting up the street like that. They're panicking our seers.
Look out, Mrs. McCombs. Come on, get out of here. Here come them loco cattle. We'll all be trampled to death.
Well, although at that time there was no way of proving it, Deuce's little scheme to wreck Lizzie McComb's packing company and win a monopoly of the cattle business in our valley certainly was starting to bear fruit. It wasn't bad enough that the cattle had been stampeded all over Patty's half-acre, but Brother Zeideman still had plenty of aces left up his sleeve. The first ace, the black one, he wasn't long in playing.
Blast you, the lot of you. Why don't you men button up your lips and let me do the talking?
What's the use of talking, Mrs. McCombs? The boys are right. It's too bad, but working for you seems to be a sure way of ending up at the doctor's or at the undertaker's.
You nutheads! What about me? If y'all quit like you say you're gonna do, where am I gonna end up?
You're not so bad off. You can probably sell out to this syndicated Zeidemans. But the way things have been going with us, 2 men killed in a stampede today and 3 others hurt. We know when we're well off and we're staying that way. Come on, boys, let's get out of here.
A couple of times, Lizzie, but I guess you didn't. Hello, what's going on here?
Oh, Braid and the boys are quitting, Chad.
Why, you can't quit on Miss McCombs at a time like this?
Well, we are quitting.
What's she gonna have to do? Go out and hire some men?
She sure will have to hire some men. If you're any sample.
I'm sample enough not to turn yellow like you all have done.
Yellow, huh? Well, does this look like I'm yellow? Come on, you galoots! Lend me a hand! Gang up on me, will you? Well, I'll...
Well, aren't you proud of yourselves? 7 of you jumping just 2 men.
You make me sick. Come on, boys. And if Remington and O'Bannon want some more when they come to, they can fight us. If they can see anything out of them closed eyes.
Will you quit worrying, Braid? If there's anybody to worry, it's me and Pinto.
You're sure right about that, Deuce. Because Remington ain't gonna take this laying down.
What can Remington and O'Bannon do against a lot of us?
Well, one thing he can do is keep Lizzie McComb's backbone up so she'll fight to the nail.
What Remington needs is a good lesson. Something that'll teach him when he tries to cross us up, he's just playing with fire.
Playing with fire, huh? You know, that gives me an idea.
Yeah, it gives me an idea, too. I wonder if we're both thinking about the same thing.
I was thinking that a nice little fire, the right kind of fire, would put Lizzie McComb so far out of business, Remington or nobody else would be able to do her any good.
Say, that's an idea. And won't a fire burn that two-bit lawyer up?
It sure will burn 'em up. That's a pretty funny. That's what you might call a hot one.
We'll return to the second act of South of Santa Fe, our exciting frontier town adventure, in just a few moments. And now, Frontier Town.
As a lawyer, I make it a practice to pretty well keep my temper under control. But as a rancher, well, I'm afraid that it blows and blows hard. Not only was I sore inside, but I was sore outside as the result of the beating I'd taken at the hands of Braid and his gang. Well, that night, patched up with court plaster and arnica, Cherokee and I were sitting in my law office, located above Cherokee's livery stable. I was fuming and Cherokee was fuming, but for an entirely different reason.
Billy Blue Blazes, Chad. After the beating I took, it's unfair, inequitable, and downright picayune of you to make me sit here with you when I could be over at the Ace of Hearts, the Gold Nugget, or some other worthy tavern imbibing some relaxing fluids.
All right. Go ahead, Cherokee. If a drink means that much to you, I guess I can get along without you.
Oh, now there's no reason for you to be hasty, Chad. I'll stay here with you for a while if you think it'll do any good.
Who knows what'll do any good. Mr. Deuce Zeideman may be too much for me.
You don't honestly mean that, do you?
Well, I'll admit that Stampede he engineered down at the railroad yards today wasn't quite as successful as he thought it was going to be. Lizzie said that they got back all but 37 head of the stampeded cattle.
Yes, but he did succeed in getting Lizzie's men to quit as a result of the stampede.
Cherokee, that varmint is about the crookedest crook I've ever seen. Imagine playing both ends against the middle. Tries to argue us ranchers into breaking our contracts with the McCombs Company at the same time that he's trying to wreck Lizzie and force her into his price-fixing syndicate. He's a rascal, all right, and a clever one.
Well, some folks have called me a rascal, Chad. But my whole trouble has been that the only thing I can't resist is temptation. Now take drinking liquor. Chad, what are you staring at out the window?
Look, Cherokee, across the street. See those men heading for the McCombs Packing Company barns?
Well, I'll be reformed. A couple of those fellows look familiar.
I'll say they're familiar, all right. They were in that gang that beat us up this afternoon.
What do you think they're doing, leaving their horses and heading for the stockyard holding pen?
I don't know, Cherokee, but we're sure going to find out.
Hey, keep it quiet. I don't want to make any noise while I'm busting off this lock.
Hey, that's it, Pinto. That does it.
Come on, boys. Come on. And don't make too much noise with them kerosene cans.
Yeah. Keep it quiet, boys. Keep it quiet.
Where's the best place to start this fire, Braid?
Right here, in the feed.
Okay, dump that oil out and get it lit.
Yeah, okay, Pinto. All right, now don't keep quiet, boys. Yeah, get it going there now. Yep.
As it turned out, Cherokee and I got there too late. Too late, that is, to stop the fire. but not too late to run those coyotes out of there with lead.
Come on, Chad, there they go.
Hold it, Cherokee. We've got to let them go and try to put out this fire. Go find some buckets while I try to dig up some blankets. We may be able to put this out before the whole place goes up in smoke.
This keeps up, Chad, I won't have any cattle, plant, or business left.
This syndicate of Zeidemans is a horrible thing. He'll eventually have a monopoly and force people to buy meat at his own prices.
You're sure right about that, Cherokee. In fact, I've been reading that there's some talk in Congress of legislating trusts like that out of business.
Oh, well, I ain't got no time to wait for Congress. I think what I'm going to have to do is get hold of 50 or 60 cattle cars and ship every head of stock I own to Kansas City or Chicago and take what I can get for 'em.
Well, Lizzie, that's your business. But personally, I'd rather end up 6 feet under than knuckle down to a weasel like Deuce Zeideman.
And, Miss McCombs, the same goes for yours truly, Cherokee O'Bannon.
Well, since you can't arrest a bunch of men you can't locate, I had no way of tying up the gang who started the stampede and the fire with my friend Deuce. All Cherokee and I could do was wait. Just wait. Meanwhile, Lizzie McCombs sent a telegram requesting 60 cattle cars. And when the answer arrived, she came storming into my office.
Talk about monopolies. Read this telegram I just got back from the railroad.
Every available cattle car reserved for United Beef Syndicate for the next 60 days.
Yes.
United Beef Syndicate? Isn't that Zeideman's outfit?
Your dad blasted right, it's Zeideman's outfit. Oh, Chad, there's no two ways about it. He's got me licked.
Of course you're not licked. You don't have to ship your cattle. You can trail drive them to Abilene.
No, not on your tin type. I wouldn't drive a half mile. Life's too short for any more grief than I got now. Oh, Chad. I'm afraid I'm just...
Wait a minute. Hold it, Lizzie. Am I seeing things, or is that Deuce Zeideman coming over here?
It certainly is, Zeideman.
I wonder what he wants.
I hope I'm not butting in. But they told me over at her office that Mrs. McCombs was up here.
Well, you're in, Zeideman. What do you want?
Well, I just heard from the railroad that Mrs. McCombs needs some cattle cars for shipping.
That's right. What'd you do? Come over here to gloat?
Certainly not, ma'am. Since I won't be needing the cars I reserved for another week or two, I'll release them to you, if you'd like.
Oh, wait a minute. Deuce, are you serious?
He's up to something, Lizzie. Leopards don't change their spots, and polecats don't change their stripes.
Look, I came here to talk business with Mrs. McCombs.
All right, Zeideman. How much do you want to charge me for the cars?
Charge you? Why, nothing. You just pay the railroad. All I'm interested in is putting an end to all the talk that's been going around about me trying to put you out of business.
It's talk that's going to backfire on you yet,
Oh,
Zeideman.
now that's enough, Chad. You just keep out of this. Deuce, are you in earnest?
I'd be an awful fool to make you the offer if I wasn't on the level. I'd just be cutting my own throat.
If that's a suggestion, it's the best one I've heard today.
Doggone it, Chad. Enough's enough. I ask you to keep out of this, but you gotta keep running off at the mouth.
But, Lizzie, I was only...
There's some folks in town who say anything Chad Remington's ever mixed up in means trouble. The way you're talking now, I can see that they're right.
Do you mean that you're really going to accept this phony offer that Zeideman's made you about using his cattle cars?
I mean, I'm still running my own business. If I can get railroad cars, I certainly don't need your kind of help.
Deuce, I still don't get the idea of first tying up all the railroad cars and then turning around and letting the old lady use them.
No, Pinto. I'm afraid you wouldn't get the idea. But we've pulled so much rough stuff on the McCombs Packing Company that everybody in town's suspicious.
Well, why shouldn't they be?
That's right. But now, with me lending her the cars to ship her beef in, there ain't nobody, not even a jury, who wouldn't say I'm the best friend she's got in the world.
Sure. And the minute she ships the beef and the cars you're lending her, everything we spent a month doing is knocked right into a cocked hat.
Do you think so? Well, wait till Lizzie McCombs takes off that hat and sees what's really inside of it. Just wait, Pinto. Just you wait.
Although I didn't know that Deuce was laughing, I didn't sleep that night. And along about sunup, I rousted Cherokee out of his bed, made him saddle up 2 of his livery horses, and we went for a ride. I had to think. I had to think hard and mighty fast. And I guess you can say it was no accident that I tried to do my thinking riding close by the railroad right away.
Chad, I think you were strictly non-compos mentis if you try to butt into Lizzie McCombs' business any further.
I'd be loco if I didn't follow this hunch. There's got to be a reason why Deuce let Lizzie borrow those cattle cars. The only reason I can think of is to put her out of business once and for all.
But on the other hand, if you are wrong, the ranchers who have sold to her are going to take you apart. Remember, your luck is wearing mighty thin.
Not half as thin as the city folks will be if Zeideman gets control of the beef market.
I suppose you're right. But what are you going to do way out here in this ungodly hour of the morning?
That cattle train is coming now, Cherokee. It's got to stop for water right down there ahead of us.
So?
So you and I are waiting until the train stops, sneaking behind the coal car, breaking the coupling, and seeing if we can't let the cattle cars roll back down the hill toward town.
By the whiskers of my pet goat, what happens to us if the train crew catches us?
By the whiskers of your pet goat, if they catch us, make tracks out of there, because that air won't be fit breathing. We'll choke to death on gun smoke. All right, hold it right here. All right, Cherokee, down off that horse and let's go. Cherokee, you cover me while I crawl behind that tender and break that coupling.
Okay, Chad. Good luck.
Hey, what's going on there?
Chad, come on!
If you don't want to get ventilated, stop right where you are. We're taking charge of these cattle.
Hey, cattle stealing! Hey, Brownie, get that engine started again. They can't get the cattle if we move them out of here.
Chad, stop them. They're getting back in the engine.
Let them go, Cherokee. If they want the engine, let them take it.
Chad, right in that engine. They'll be back here in a half an hour with a posse.
You mean if that engine gets any further, then... That's what Deuce planned to have happen to the whole train. A derailment, an accident which he wouldn't be held responsible for. All right, come on, Cherokee. I'll bet we'll find Deuce around here someplace watching to make sure the whole train was wrecked.
But what are we going to do with the cattle?
I'm not worried about the cattle now. What we've got to do is get our hands on the hogs.
I hope you're enjoying your morning constitutional dues. You can't fall off the way Chad's got you tied to the saddle.
Why don't you shut up?
I guess you don't know Cherokee very well, do you, Deuce? He's one man who always keeps his mouth open, ready for any emergency.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And even though this is the time of the morning I'm generally getting home, I've got my mouth all set now for something slightly stronger than breakfast coffee.
And I think that Deuce here is the one who ought to buy you the drink.
Deuce should? Why do you say that, Chad?
Well, wasn't it his gang who closed both your eyes yesterday?
Yeah?
Well, then, since turnabout is fair play, he's the man who should buy your eye opener.
Frontier Town, starring Reed Hadley and featuring Wade Crosby, is a Bruce Ells production. Story and direction by Paul Franklin. Music written and played by Ivan Ditmars. Be sure to be with us again same time next week for another fine action-adventure story with your favorite young Western star, Reed Hadley. And now this is Bill Foreman telling you that Frontier Town comes to you from Hollywood.